Hello, and welcome to So You Think You Can Rule Persia, the podcast where we rate and review all the kings of Persia from Deioces to Yazdegerd III. I'm Serial, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Umberto, and my pronouns are he, him. So, welcome back for episode 3 of So You Think You Can Rule Persia. And today's episode is Cyaxares.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and it's the first person that is actually historically attested with that name. We know he exists, which is neat.
A real person, not
Yes.
just a legend.
A definitely real person that we know exists.
Or as maybe it was a person or two or three different people, or maybe it was all made up. So we actually have maybe more reliable sources this time?
I mean, it's not that the sources are more reliable, it's just that the facts are more reliable. Like, the things that happen are bigger, are large enough that we notice, this person had to exist for this to happen. So, in the last episode, Phraortes united a whole series of different Iranian people, among which the Persians, so we finally managed to get to Persia in the last episode. And together with them and the Scythians and a whole other group of rebels that were fighting against the Assyrians, they tried to take down the aging empire, but unfortunately for our side, Phraortes was killed in battle. The battle was lost.
It was a little bit anticlimactic, which was a shame because it was a really cool battle with all the different communities, all the different tribes essentially coming together against one common foe. And then the Assyrians still won. So
they were on their way out, but unfortunately not yet.
Yeah.
So there's still one last hurrah. But as we'll see in this episode, the Assyrians are slowly just aiming downhill and going towards their end.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that they were facing several different rebellions, one of them in Egypt, and things within their empire.
Yeah, the Egypt that they conquered a decade before rebelled and became independent again. Then there's Babylon trying to become independent. Then there are civil wars for the throne in the middle. It's a mess.
They were the biggest empire at the time, or the first big empire, but immediately kind of collapsed.
Yeah, I mean, they were the first to be that large, but it lasted for 8 years, and then everything went to hell.
Okay. Well, so we're picking up now when maybe they're not that much of a threat?
Well, first of all, we're picking up directly after Phraortes has died.
Oh, right. So after the battle.
Yes, after the battle, Cyaxares is the prince of Media, and while historically we don't really know if he was actually the son of Phraortes, because in the future there's going to be somebody who is called Phraortes who claims to be a descendant of Cyaxares. So maybe there is some mix-up between descendant, parents, that sort of...
Was just struggling with the veracity of certain facts and what happened when, and is this just a bit of a broken telephone or not?
Especially for the earliest parts, it's a lot of who knows, maybe, and then as we go forward, as we get closer, we start to get more concrete evidence. Because this is still 150 years before Herodotus started to write.
Yeah.
So it's still...
So he's still trying to piece together things from the past, and humans tend to forget stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to remember small details about, this king was the son of this other king, especially if that royal family isn't in power anymore for some reason.
Or if nobody wrote it down, which I don't know if somebody did, so...
Yeah, they don't tend to write things down a lot at this time and in this place. So the idea is that it's a lot more difficult to remember things
Herodotus
accurately.
is supposed to be the first historian as we understand history right now, so I assume we sadly do not have that much information from before.
Yeah, and also from before, generally the idea is that a king will write a big block of stone saying, I am king so-and-so, I did these
You had the
great
achievements,
things.
but not...
Yes.
Right. Okay, so let's get started with Cyaxares.
Right, so at the beginning of Cyaxares' reign, as we saw, his potential father was killed in battle against the Assyrians.
Sad.
So now we have a bit of a weird thing from Herodotus, which might be a mix-up, but it could be.
Literally
we'll
everything you've told me from Herodotus might be a mix-up. This does not change things.
That's his vibe. So, at the beginning of his reign, Cyaxares apparently marched against Nineveh to try and avenge his father.
Who's Nineveh?
It's the capital of the Assyrians.
Right.
Where, outside which Phraortes died.
So he marches there to try and avenge his father.
Yes, so he tries and summons the remaining forces he had, tries to get revenge. But, unfortunately, outside Nineveh, he is attacked by the Scythians, who have been employed as mercenaries by the Assyrians now. So what happens is that the Assyrians, together with their Scythian mercenaries / allies, manage to defeat the Medians, and Cyaxares is forced to retreat back into his homeland.
They're not doing great, the Medians.
No, it's not a great start. And
win-to-lose ratio in battles.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Which is also why it might be not real, because there isn't much physical evidence, especially in the Assyrian sources, for this extra battle. So it might just be Herodotus consulting different sources, and one is saying, oh, the battle happened at the end of Phraortes' reign, one saying, oh no, it was the beginning of Cyaxares' reign.
Sometime, like at that point, so, somewhere.
Roughly there. The point is, Media loses, Assyria wins.
Established.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the issue is that Herodotus also tells us that the Medians were so badly defeated that the Scythians were able to claim overlordship over Media for 28 years.
Oh, that's really bad. That's like exactly the opposite that we were trying to accomplish.
Yes, it is not a good deal. And yeah, the issue is that it's probably not just like an empire as you would think of it, like somebody just conquering the Medians. It's more likely that it was either the Scythians invading Media and just demanding some tribute, or they were just raiding it often enough that it was as if they owned the place. So Cyaxares then retreats to Media, sort of semi under the Scythians. It's unclear, but he retreats to lick his wounds, and he prepares to sort of build back. And
can he
regain what he did?
Because it looks pretty terrible. They are now under Assyrian rule, kind of. Just because.
But yes.
Well, but they work for the Assyrians, right?
I mean, sort of. They work for the Assyrians for as long as the Assyrians have money.
Oh, okay. So really, the Scythians are the problem.
Yeah.
Not so much the Assyrians, but still not good for Media. They're still being invaded by a different. Okay, so do they have the strength to build back? Like, do they have the riches and the power to do it? Because if they're being constantly raided, I would assume it's kind of difficult to, build back if you don't have the means.
Yeah, it is difficult to build back. They don't exactly have the means at the moment.
Okay.
But because also they lost this massive battle where you can assume that roughly a generation of fighting age men has been exterminated.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you need to wait and chill for a moment, and then later on, once a new generation has come of age, you'll be able to actually do all of what you're planning. And
I assume they will be able to do it. I assume the Scythians give them enough of a break to actually be able to bring up the next generation and hopefully have enough food for everyone and enough resources to rebuild whatever has been destroyed. And yeah, it looks like whatever arrangement they ended up having, the Scythians are not destroying Media. They're probably just keeping it there, saying, hey, pay us this certain amount of goods every year and we won't come and burn your cities down. And Media apparently has enough to make sure that this deal is held up. Okay, so they can build back and recover. Yes. So, after being sort of left alone by the Scythians, at least in a certain quantity, Cyaxares manages to slowly rebuild Media. We don't have many details about what he does here, but bit by bit he seems to re-strengthen his people and ensure that they are strong enough at least to hold their own against any potential foreign powers. Okay, time for round 2, I guess. Yeah, exactly. So Cyaxares is now having this nice training montage where he goes and talks to all his men and just starts to train them ruthlessly so that everybody is ready when the time comes to take their revenge. Motivational speech and everything. Yes, like, fun motivational speeches. There's slow motion and everything. It's very impressive. Cool. And Herodotus tells us that actually Cyaxares is a strong warrior king because he is apparently the first man in Media to decide to divide the army up based on how it's composed. Oh, okay. So it's no longer just a big clump of people running at another big clump of people. Wait, so there wasn't that much battle strategy then in the army? It seems like the Medians at least didn't have that much battle strategy. Okay. The Assyrians probably were more used to fighting with settled people. The Medians, again, they've only become like
a kingdom.
That's true.
2 generations ago, they were mostly just running at people with a big clump of soldiers. But now Cyaxares is trying to change that all. Okay. So he's deciding to put all the archers with the archers, all the infantry with the infantry, all the cavalry with the cavalry, to make sure that everybody can organize themselves and fight at their most effective. So the cavalry can be fast, the archers can hide and be sneaky and shoot at you, and the infantry can be still and help the others and move forward. So all of this means that Media can become stronger and more able to fight with a settled people like the Assyrians, where their lack of strategy might have been one of the issues that caused their eventual defeat under Phraortes.
Makes a lot of sense, especially if the Assyrians were more used to fighting against settled people, like you said, and they had some more of a strategy.
Yeah, it looks like the Medians were probably more used to some sort of guerrilla warfare in the mountains, not just massive army versus massive army.
Okay, so that makes sense why they lost. I was just feeling very bad about them. But superior strategy usually gives you a lot of advantage. So.
Yeah. And now they're finally learning from their mistakes, and Cyaxares starts to show some promise.
That's really cool.
And in the meantime, the Assyrian Empire has been on fire throughout all of this time.
They've been struggling.
Yes, they've been defeated multiple times by multiple peoples, and it looks like their effective control has been mostly reduced to the core of Assyria. So the cities of Nineveh, where Phraortes died, and Ashur, which is the historical capital of Assyria, from which the name Assyria.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. So were these people who have defeated them in the last years, were they some of the ones that Phraortes put together for the first attack?
It was in part. It was essentially, it's a whole combination of the Egyptians doing their own thing, the Babylonians fighting for their independence, the Urartians from the north coming raiding a little bit.
I remember Phraortes talking with them, being like, hey, we have a common enemy, let's do this.
Yes, so the Urartians are also part of this coalition. We can assume the Scythians were raiding Assyria because, hey, a dying empire is a good thing to feast upon.
If they can't pay, they will find other ways.
Yeah, so. I mean, if they're nomadic, what are you going to do to them? Yeah. You can't burn their cities, they don't have any.
Such a power move, I love it. What are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? I'm just
conquer our capital? Good luck.
Yeah, it's just very one-sided against people from the steppe, so there you are. So now Cyaxares sees that, okay, now the time is right, this time we're going to make it. So he gathers all of his forces and begins to march towards the Assyrian lands and starts taking out a few of their different allies. So in 616 BC, we have that the Babylonians defeat the Assyrians and their Manaean allies. If you remember the Manaeans, they were the ones that ruled over Diarches in the very first episode. They were this little border people at the eastern edge of the Assyrian Empire.
Right.
They weren't very important, but they were there.
Okay, good.
So what happens is that Cyaxares then conquers the Manaeans, who were recently defeated, and so adds that bit of territory to his land. Then he turns his sight directly to Assyria proper. So in 614, the Medians managed to occupy the north of Assyria and begin to take some of the core regions that were more closely held by the Assyrian people themselves.
Okay.
And specifically, and most insultingly, they managed to capture the city of Ashur.
Well,
which is the religious capital of Assyria and, the heart of it. It's like capturing Rome for the Roman Empire. It's really humiliating if something like that happens to you.
So they're done. The Assyrians are done. Also, I'm kind of impressed, or I guess wondering, since the Assyrians were, as you said, attacked by lots of different peoples, why were the Medians the ones to conquer Ashur, for example? Were the Medians doing especially well in this endeavor?
It wasn't that they were doing especially well, it was just that Ashur was a lot closer to Media than to anything else.
So they had a geographical advantage.
Yeah, it was just that they were the closest people there. Assyria is imploding from all sides. Just happens that this side is closer to Media.
Okay. So it's not that the Medians are suddenly superior to all the other peoples around them. It's just
no, they're just the first ones there. Okay. So they managed to take Ashur.
That's what I was wondering.
Kick butt. And there's a Babylonian chronicle that tells us that many Assyrians were killed in the capturing of the city, and a huge amount of loot from centuries of conquest is taken and brought back home to Media, making the Medians no longer a small provincial kingdom. Now they are a very rich empire, since they have gained all of the riches of Assyria.
Oh god, okay. How the turns have tabled.
So, now with Assyria being humiliated by the Medians, the other enemies of Assyria start to look to Media and say, oh wait, these guys know what they're doing now. They've understood that you should use cavalry separate from foot people. Cavalry can go faster if they don't have to have people running after them.
They have ascended.
Yes, they have finally ascended.
Galaxy brain.
So, Nabopolassar, the king of Babylon...
Okay, thank you for the clarification, thanks.
...decides to write a treaty of friendship with Cyaxares. And they say, listen, we're both trying to fight the Assyrians. We'd both be happier if the Assyrians were gone forever. Let's just join forces and crack them. And to settle this deal, they decide to go through a marriage pact.
Oh,
so
of course.
Cyaxares marries off, it's unclear if it's his daughter or his granddaughter, but...
some family...
Yes, a female descendant of some sort.
Right.
To the son of Nabopolassar, who, for those of you who know Babylonian history, is Nebuchadnezzar II.
I know the name, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is the famous one from all of the stuff.
Okay.
Because,
that makes sense.
Basically, he is important for many reasons. He's also in the Bible. He's not kind to the Jews. But, not many people in history are, unfortunately. But another interesting reason you might know Nebuchadnezzar from is that his wife, i.e. Cyaxares' daughter/granddaughter, is the one who apparently asked the king of Babylon to build the famous Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes.
I love it. It's one of the 7 wonders, right?
Yes, it is one of the 7 wonders of the world. Unclear if it actually existed.
Like a lot of these things, obviously.
Yes. According to Phraortes, this woman really missed her homeland of Media.
Mm-hmm.
She missed the forested mountains that are native of the area. And so she begged her husband to give her something that could remind her of her homeland.
Oh,
so her husband decided to build all of these towers filled with gardens and plants to remind her of her homeland.
Oh, he went all out.
Yes.
Really. That is amazing. When your wife is like, honey, I really miss home. Could you give me some kind of gift that could remind me of the beautiful forest? And the husband is like, yes, no problem.
Yes, I am building a forest. No postcards here, just a full of
Not even
forest.
a normal forest, I'm putting it in a tower. I'm building a building for a fake garden. Who was the architect? Like, who had this idea? It's so cool. That is very impressive. And, wow. Also... feel free to cut this out. The main reason why I remembered Nabucodonosor, which I don't know if you pronounce it that way in English. That's
the Latin version of it.
That is the only version I know. I'm sorry. I'm not going to try to pronounce a different one I haven't seen written down. But the only reason why I remember the name is obviously we learned about it in history class in high school at some point. But I remember it because it was a really long and really weird name that was difficult to pronounce. And so my friends and I, whenever we went to some kind of pub or restaurant where they ask for your name in order to deliver your order, we would put Nabucodonosor on the tab, so people would have to shout it across the restaurant, and it was very funny.
That sounds like a good tactic. I like it.
We were also like 15, so
I mean, fair enough, it works. There's also, just nothing to do with anything here, but there's a Hittite king from a millennium before this, which is called Shupiluliuma, and I love the name.
That is adorable. It's such a good name.
So I know nothing more about this man, but I love his name.
It's just memorable.
Yes.
Just awesome.
But back to the... Oh, right. Also, before we move on from the Hanging Gardens, I'll have to be a bit of a spoil sport and let you know that unfortunately there is no archaeological evidence of them existing.
Well, you said that we are not sure if they're real, so...
Yeah, the thing is that Greeks from later centuries will report these Hanging Gardens, but no Babylonians do.
That's weird.
Yeah, so one of the hypotheses is that it might just have been that Babylonians like to have a lot of plants on their buildings. Okay. And Greeks the Greeks were like, whoa!
What is this? A hanging garden?
It's just like a tiny potted plant on your balcony.
The Babylonians are just taking care of their geraniums,
Yeah, so maybe the Greeks were just easily impressed, or there was a massive cool garden that nobody thought to mention. Whichever.
That's very strange, yeah. That really makes it seem like it's not a thing. Which is very sad, because I love this story.
Yeah. But there's a neat story, so we don't have to care. It's fine.
Exactly. Also, who cares?
Yeah, it's cool.
It has no relevance, really, on this story that we're
telling. Yeah, it's fine. The important part of the story is Cyaxares' daughter or granddaughter wanted Fanging Gardens.
Yes.
The end.
And Nabucodonosor was kind enough to, like, make a whole project for her and give her amazing gardens, because apparently they cared for each other.
Yeah, so that was also a good sign for their relationship.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were at the point where Media and Babylonia had concluded an alliance to try and take down Assyria once and for all.
Time to die.
Yes. So in 612, we have the Medians and Babylonians joining together to try and capture Nineveh. Once again, Cyaxares is here, where his father died. God. Possibly the third time he's been here. It's been a long time.
I can imagine he's just like, okay, this is cursed. I don't know if someone just like looked at me weird or why we keep losing here. We've been doing fine. We have to do this.
Yes, once and for all, has to finish. So gathered in the field in front of Nineveh, we have a climactic battle with no details whatsoever.
Come on!
I'm sorry.
Seriously?
There's a good battle later on, so stay tuned for that.
Okay.
But the good thing about this battle is that finally the Medians and Babylonians storm into Nineveh and manage to capture the city. It is sacked, and the core of Assyria is permanently broken.
They did it! They did it!
Yes, they've finally done it. Assyria still exists. A small army of Assyrians flees west to the Levant, but they will eventually be hunted down by other people and destroyed.
Oh no.
But the point is that the base of Assyria is gone. The majority of it is entirely destroyed.
And the Assyrian Empire is no more.
The Assyrian Empire is no more.
It's no more. It's defunct.
The poor Assyrian Empire, we hardly knew ye. Yes. So basically the Assyrian Empire is now divided into two parts. The south and west of it goes to the Neo-Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar II and family.
Yes.
While the north and the east are the spoils of Media.
Hey!
Media is no longer just a kingdom, it has become essentially an empire.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen. Also, I have one important question.
Yes.
Did Cyaxares make it?
Cyaxares has made it.
Okay, he's
not
alive. Dead. Okay, good.
No, he gets to enjoy this.
Wonderful. Good job, man.
Yes, and finally they also managed to capture the kingdom of Urartu in the Caucasus. That is now part of the growing Median Empire. So Assyria is now destroyed, and it is destroyed so powerfully that we have echoes of it in the Bible.
Oh,
and I will read for you now from the book of Ezekiel.
Oh, Ezekiel is the fun one with all the angels, right?
Yes.
And the visions.
Apparently this is, according to biblical scholars, this is a different Ezekiel who was alive at the time compared to the original Ezekiel who was there. It's complicated. Look up how the Bible was made.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Please don't come for me. I know nothing.
Yes, this is the Ezekiel with the weird biblical angels, by the way.
Yeah, that's what
There we go.
Good.
So Ezekiel says, Assyria is there with her whole army. She is surrounded by the graves of all her slain, all who have fallen by the sword. Their graves are in the depths of the pit, and her army lies around her grave. All who had spread terror in the lands of the living are slain, fallen by the sword.
Oh boy. That's a lot of like blood, death, blood, suffering, blood, murder, lots of dead people.
Yes. Especially considering that they did do a half genocide on the Jewish kingdom they conquered. You can understand they would be happy to see the Assyrians go.
Yeah. Everyone's happy the Assyrians are dead. Yeah. Nobody liked the Assyrians.
No. There's also another bit from Nahum in the Bible, again, where it says, The Lord has given a command concerning you, Nineveh. You will have no descendants to bear your name. I will destroy the images and idols that are in the temples of your gods. I will prepare your grave, for you are vile.
Wow.
So,
talk about
they're not happy.
Hate mail.
Yeah.
Whew.
But, as I mentioned, Assyria, gone. Poof. Median Empire, welcome to the world.
It's solved, I guess.
Yes, so Cyaxares has finally avenged his father and become the greatest Median king who has ever lived.
Amazing.
Because, good job.
Does this count as a Persian king, though?
That is debatable. At this point, probably. Because if you remember, the original deal that Phraortes had with Persia was unclear.
Yeah, it was like, let's help each other either by conquest or by diplomacy, and we didn't quite know.
Yeah, somehow Phraortes was in charge of Persia, but at this point, with Media becoming so large and so powerful, it's no longer a relationship of equals. Mm-hmm. Media is essentially the overlord of Persia.
Okay.
Persia is still ruled by its own royal family and everything. We'll meet them later on.
So they're not... Okay. Why aren't we talking about the Persian royal family then?
Because they're not the important ones at this point. Because they're being ruled by someone else.
I'm so confused. So confused by this podcast.
I mean, Persia is being ruled by Media right now, so it counts. It's fine.
I trust you. Listen, I was just going to say I was very happy that finally we have, like, our first king who is, like, worthy of really high points because he actually achieved so many things, and we kind of think that it's actually true, and we have data, and it's awesome, and he won battles, and he made an empire, but, like, it's still not Persia. So,
I mean, you know, if he's ruling over Persia, you know, the Persians are sending soldiers. It's, you know,
like, I understand
it counts.
Why we're talking about him and not about the monarchy of Persia itself. I get it. It's just, is this a running joke by now? Like, we're 3 episodes in and still do not believe that we chose the right title for this podcast.
It's okay. Next episode, we get to meet Persian kings from Persia who live in Persia and come from Persia. Okay,
because so far we have married off the daughter or granddaughter to the Babylonian king. So, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, the Babylonians are equals. They're now the two halves of the Assyrian Empire.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was a bad decision. I'm just saying, how is this going to be about Persia? Anyway, I guess we'll find out.
We'll see. It's okay. This is mostly telling us how much Persia is now part of this larger world. It is essentially a small component of it.
It's the origin story.
Yeah, Persia origins. Also, just so you know, before we go forward, we've arrived to the year 600 BC, which is halfway through history.
Oh.
Half of all of history is before this point, and half of all of history is after it. Enjoy.
Oh, heck. Okay. Thanks.
Yes. You are now aware. We can now move forward.
I need to process this. Okay.
Episode 3, half of history done. Cool.
Great. Awesome.
But, as we said before, Media is a subject of the Scythians. So, how does that work now that Media is an empire?
Yeah.
Cyaxares starts to think, I don't need to pay these guys anymore.
I am
stronger than them.
Yeah, I have an army. This. I won a battle. I'm all, like, riled up. I'm the best freaking emperor in the whole world.
Yeah, so he is now able to potentially kick them out. So what does he do?
Try?
Does try, yes. So, we need to look a bit at how the Scythians were dealing with the Medians. So, according to Herodotus, Cyaxares treated the Scythians kindly as guests, because when they came over, he entrusted them with several young noble boys to educate so they could learn archery in the Scythian language and become trained in their manner of war.
Nice.
So the Scythians usually went hunting at the Median court, and every day they came back bringing whatever they had caught for a feast at the royal palace. Now, one day, the Scythians didn't manage to catch anything, and they just came back home empty-handed and brought nothing to Cyaxares.
It happens, bad hunting day.
But unfortunately, we are told that Cyaxares was prone to anger, so when the Scythians arrived empty-handed, he treated them roughly and insulted them in some way. So he said, what are you doing here? Why are you back without any food? What are we going to do for our feast? We've been fighting a war. What have you people been doing?
You useless hunters, you had one job.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So the Scythians get pretty annoyed
as you would.
At this. They say, you're paying us to not attack you.
Who do you think you are?
We're clearly the stronger party here. What are you doing? So they take one of the noble boys that they had captured.
No.
That they
captured?
They take one of the noble boys that they had as stewards, and they take him, cut him up, and cook him, and present him to Cyaxares, saying, here's the catch of the day. I hope you enjoy it.
I thought so. I had an inkling this is what would happen.
Yeah. So, after all this happens, the Scythians think, oh no, he looks really mad. Oh, I think we miscalculated. And they run away all the way to the kingdom of Lydia, which is to the west of Media now, and it is basically containing most of Anatolia. That is roughly modern Turkey.
Okay.
So it is on the western border of the Median Empire. Mm-hmm. At this point, Cyaxares has decided, okay, this is a good chance to beat down on the Scythians. Let's just finish the job.
They have really offended me now, so I have my excuse for a war.
Yeah, you can do this.
Especially if, someone serves you human meat from one of your own court servants. In the Greek myths, this is usually very intensely reprimanded.
Yeah, this is probably why Herodotus is putting it there. But yeah, the idea is that A, you don't eat human meat, and B, you don't disrespect hosts or guests. Right. This is all a mess.
Oof, okay.
So, trouble. But at this point, Cyaxares says, you know what, I'm going to expel the Scythians once and for all. Mm-hmm. There's still a few in my kingdom. I know how to deal with them. So what he does is he invites them all to a wonderful feast.
Oh God. Oh God.
Come, friends, bring all your most important people to my palace.
It's a trap.
No, don't bring any guards. It's okay, I have enough guards for everyone.
It's totally fine, especially after what the hunting party did. I'm sure nobody will suspect anything.
Yeah, it's no hard feelings. We're all gonna just have a nice feast.
Leave your weapons at the door.
Yeah, we'll patch over any bad blood that we have, and it's gonna be fine. No worries.
Oh my God. Did they actually go?
They did, apparently.
What the hell?
So,
were they hoping that they could just patch things up because they knew they couldn't just straight up fight the Medians? Or
it could be that maybe they thought, he would never dare to do this. Or maybe it was like, it's just a small group of Scythians that angered him. He's not going to attack all of us.
Or, well, what I was suggesting is, do the Scythians think, if we go to battle, we're losing?
That could also be. Maybe they were just trying to keep up appearances and keep going. But no matter what the case is, Cyaxares murders them all at this banquet, as you would expect. But still some more of the survivors of this feast, maybe the people who are going to the bathroom while the murder happened.
Yeah, Oh, I forgot my wallet. Wait, I'll... Yeah.
So it's like, sorry, I need to run away. Forgot the cat on the stove, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they all also flee with their compatriots to the kingdom of Lydia in the west.
Right.
At this point, Cyaxares asks the king of Lydia, called Phraortes,
hey friend, so you're hiding a couple of whippersnappers that I need to have a talk with? Just, nothing serious, I just want to talk. Can I see them?
Yeah, if you want to come to a feast, that can help too. I have some leftovers. Please come.
Oh my God.
Phraortes instead sends a message back to Cyaxares and says, no, I'm not giving you these people. They're under my protection. I know what you're going to do to them. They're staying here with me. If you want them, come get them.
I can see you holding the sword behind your back. You're not fooling anybody.
Yeah, it's very stabby, man. Let's not do this. Also, Lydia is a powerful kingdom.
I was going to ask, is the Lydian monarch not afraid of Media? Otherwise, he wouldn't offer to protect the Scythians.
Yeah, it's a combination of a series of things. First of all, probably doesn't respect Media much. Before Cyaxares, Media was a tiny kingdom at the end of the world. So it's saying, who are these upstarts that are just coming here pretending to be an empire? We'll just show them how things really work in the real world. It's easy to fight the Assyrians when they're dying, but we're an actual stable kingdom. Yeah. What are you going to do? The other side of the coin is also that Lydia is obscenely rich.
Right.
Now, for those of you that are reading ahead, Phraortes, the king of Lydia, is the father of Croesus. And in certain countries and languages, rich as Croesus is still a saying in the modern day.
Okay, wow.
And also, Phraortes had so much gold and silver that he was the first person in history to mint coins. Because he had so much of it that he needed a nice, reliable way to have it into discs of a known value.
That's very impressive.
So he clearly thinks he has a chance.
Yeah, and this makes sense of why he has an attitude of this new rich boy who just happened to stumble upon inheritance and has no idea of what actually being a noble person is like. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, he has a very clear attitude of saying, I've been here for a long while, we've been rich and powerful for a long while. we're not scared of you. You're just some barbarians from the edge of the world.
Right.
So what happens is Cyaxares goes to war. He decides, okay, fine. This is my chance to get some more land and show the world that the war against Assyria wasn't a one-off thing. We can actually do this consistently. So they go to war, and we have 6 years of war that we don't know very much about. But from what we can tell, it's not moving very far either way. It's staying roughly along the pre-existing border between Assyria and Lydia, which now is taken up by Media. And this all comes to a head at a very impressive battle along the river Halys, which is the Kizilmark River in Turkey now. And it's about halfway through Anatolia. Now, at this battle, we have the great array of Medians versus the great array of the Lydians, and they come to battle towards the evening. And as they are about to begin their great struggle, what should happen? But they look in the sky. It looks like the sun darkens.
Oh, no way!
Yes.
This is so epic.
The sun darkens and an eclipse removes all light from the field of battle, just as they're about to start. And at this point, the two kings take this as a sign. They meet in the front, shake hands, and say, okay, this war has gone on long enough. This river will be the border between our kingdoms from now on.
That is so cool!
That is very cool.
Awesome.
Yes.
2 questions.
Yes.
One, I'm just very impressed that like both kings happen to interpret the eclipse in a similar way, and not just, you know, one king being like, this is our chance, we can do it under the cover of night, and the other people being like, oh, we should not fight, you know, because that would be a very funny outcome.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that also after 6 years of war, they're like, we're tired, sure, the eclipse will do, fine, yeah, let's say it's a sign, sure, it'll work.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, secondly, I imagine people knew about eclipses. Could they predict them?
Interestingly enough, according to Phraortes, this is the first eclipse ever predicted.
Oh, that's so cool!
Yes.
Okay.
So, according to Herodotus, Thales of Miletus, who is a Greek, and according to many people, including my high school philosophy textbook.
Okay. That person.
Yes, that's a very official source. Is the first philosopher in the Greek tradition. Because he's the first man who decides to think about how is the world made, how does this work.
Right.
He theorizes that all the world is made out of water in different states of, you know, solid, liquid, that sort of thing.
Not a bad hypothesis.
So he thinks that. And there's also a theorem of Thales in mathematics, if you know.
Oh, yeah. Wait, no, I know the guy. Oh my god! My brain is exploding.
Yes, that Thales.
Yes, I know. It's pronounced so differently. Thales, yeah, it's pronounced so differently. My brain could not put 2 and 2 together. But yes, we've obviously studied him. I remember the theorem. Thales of
Miletus.
Miletus, yeah. Thales de Mileto. See. I know that! Oh my god! Oh, so cool.
So Thales of Miletus is apparently, according to Herodotus, the first person to ever predict an eclipse, and he predicted this specific one.
Oh, that's awesome.
Maybe he was also talking with Aliati saying, hey, this specific day, maybe, you know,
around
if you want to stop, do this thing.
Just, you know, put the battle, like, right about 2:30.
Yeah. So you would know that sort of thing. It's unclear if he actually managed to predict an eclipse, because we don't know if the math existed yet.
Right.
But there might have been a simplified formula that doesn't always work, but it might have worked in this case specifically. So that could be the explanation.
Because I was of the impression, and like my knowledge of Uber history, like I don't know how to explain it, just that what is happening in all places at the same time, so to speak, right? Or what happens in the same period of time, or like when something has happened with respect to another thing. I'm not great at that. I'm still trying to deal with the fact that we're closer to Cleopatra that she was to the pyramids, and that when the pyramids were built, there were mammoths at the same time.
Yes, history is weird.
So I struggle with that a lot. So I was wondering, like, when humans started to predict eclipses, and like when we developed the mathematics for that, or the formula. Again, I don't know if I'm correct, but I think it's a big tradition also in the Latin American, North American, South American history, the fact that they could predict the movement of astral bodies. So
Yeah, the Mayans
When is that?
The Mayans really enjoyed their astronomy.
Right, exactly.
I'm not sure about their specific predictive abilities for eclipses. I know that definitely they had a lot of ideas about constellations and planets and all that sort of thing. And that's roughly in the first half of the first millennium AD. So in about 1,000 years from where we are in this point of history.
So that's what I wanted to ask. Like, when are the Mayans, for example?
Yes, the Mayan classical age is roughly the first half of the first millennium.
Compared to where we are now. Okay. This is difficult.
Yeah, but also...
So this might be the first predicted eclipse. At least it is in the...
Yes, in the Greek tradition, certainly. Because, as we know, the Babylonians also really enjoyed astronomy and loved doing calculations to see where the stars are from. So Pythagoras' theorem was first developed in Babylonia.
Okay.
All that sort of thing.
We love maths.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So many people were very interested for a whole number of reasons, just curiosity, and hey, it helps you figure out the passing of time and horoscopes and all that thing.
What about the other side of the world, the east from Babylonia, so China and the Asian cultures? When did they develop?
I'm not sure exactly when China started doing this. I think in around this period, I think this is the late Zhou dynasty, they have a lot of astronomical studies and mathematics. I'm not sure about the status of writing it right now, but overall they do have a lot of interest. It's mostly born out of a desire to have better agriculture, and then it evolved into saying, oh wait, but the stars move regularly, but the planets don't. The planets probably mean something special. Okay, horoscopes. Okay, omens and all that stuff.
That makes sense.
So all this is very interesting, and we have a wonderful eclipse.
Sorry about the tangent.
No,
I was just very interested.
And also, according to Isaac Asimov,
yes,
I don't know if this is entirely accurate, but he said it, so sure. This is the earliest historical event, this battle, for which we have an exact date. Because we can retrocalculate when the eclipse was.
Oh, of course!
So we know that it happened exactly on the 28th of May, 585 BC.
That is so cool.
So yes, finally we have a battle with details, and it's fun details.
Our first date, like actual, reliable, accurate date.
Yes, it's
so
and it's not just a random year this happened. It's day, month, year, time of day towards the end of the day. It's very cool. So finally, Cyaxares and Alyattes decide, you know what? Let's make peace. The Halis River will be our new border, and again, like with Babylon, they decide to seal it with a marriage. So what happens is that Alyattes gives his daughter in marriage to the son of Cyaxares, who is called Astyages, and is going to be our next episode.
Ooh, really cool. Okay.
Yes.
I see what's happening. Wait, but then are they joining the two empires?
They're not joining. It's more just a marriage alliance. So Alyattes' daughter is just marrying Cyaxares' son. Okay, so she's just to make sure that everybody is going to be...
She's essentially going to the Median side.
Yeah, she's going to go live in Media with her new husband, and we'll see what fate they have. But so far, everything is very nice for Cyaxares. So what he has done right now is very impressive, because he has basically tripled or quadrupled the size of his kingdom in his lifetime. And his southern border is safe because he has a marriage alliance with Babylon. His western border is safe because he has a marriage alliance with the Lydians. To the north, he has the Caucasus Mountains protecting him from the steppe. And to the east, he has a strongly mountainous part of Iran, where there aren't really any settled kingdom that could threaten him.
Nice.
So, very good deal.
Wow. I'm so impressed.
Yeah, it's very impressive how he managed to do all of this.
It might be because our previous two contestants were a little bit underwhelming, but also just, wow, so many things. So not only has he actually developed Media into an empire and like quadrupled its size and given it riches from the enemies that they defeated and no longer have that threat, and gotten rid of the other threat from the Scythians, but also he has actually established the Median Empire as a respectable empire.
Yes,
that can hold its ground, that can battle, that is like a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, it's no longer this little barbarian upstart. They are a known kingdom. Now that Assyria is gone, the world in this little corner of it is divided among 4 major powers. So we have Egypt, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, Lydia, and now Media is one of the great powers of this corner of the world. Although, just to warn you, media, it's not as much as an empire as we would expect it from, say, thinking Rome, the British Empire, that sort of thing.
Right.
It isn't that centralized. So the idea is that Cyaxares is the first man of our list to adopt the title of King of Kings. And so the idea is that media is probably not so much a unified empire as a union of different little kingdoms, all of which are subject to media itself. That is sense. Ruled by Cyaxares. Right. That's why the title King of Kings.
Yeah, because you rule over other kings. Yes.
But yes, so after a long and fruitful life, and apparently, according to Phraortes, a reign of 40 years, Cyaxares dies in the same year as the Battle of the Eclipse, and he gives to his heir a large and powerful empire, finally respectable and strong. So that is the end of Cyaxares. We don't know much about his death, unfortunately, but, the rest was impressive.
I guess, if he didn't die in battle, because that battle didn't happen, right? And that was the last thing. Who knows? It might be some other natural causes. Yeah,
I mean, he's been reigning for 40 years. Yeah. He's probably a certain age already.
Yeah. He's seen some stuff.
Yeah, a lot has happened. So now it's time to rate Cyaxares.
That was awesome.
Yay, an awesome one.
Finally. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so our first round is final moments about how interesting was Cyaxares' death.
This is sadly, I guess, the weakest.
Yeah, he doesn't get much of this, unfortunately, but we know nothing. He just died. Not violently, or at least not violently enough to be notable. And died after a long reign, so we can assume it was natural causes. So I'd be going for 0.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so 0 and 0 for final moments gives a 0 out of 10 for Cyaxares. Next category is battle hardness. So how good was he at fighting and commanding armies and ruling militarily?
So this was awesome. Like, essentially, I guess, I don't know if it was him personally that came up with it or some general of his, but since we are essentially through him rating his whole reign, whoever it was, someone came up with battle strategy and army distribution and different techniques, and that is so freaking cool, and obviously served him well because he
it clearly worked.
Won most battles. He didn't manage to win the first one against the Assyrians.
Yeah, but to be fair, it was just after his father was killed in battle, so
he was just like picking up the few soldiers who could still walk and be like, okay, let's do it again. And everyone was like, oh god, okay, we didn't die in this one, I guess we will die on the next one.
Yeah, I think that's his main demerit, because after that, what does he do? He conquers the Manaeans. Those are gone forever.
Yes.
He conquers Ashur. Yes. That's gone. Together with the Babylonians, he manages to conquer Nineveh and basically destroy the Assyrian Empire. He conquers Urartu.
Yes.
Then once he's done that, he manages to fight the Lydians to a standstill at the very least. And the Scythians. The Scythians, I don't know if you'd consider that fighting, but
maybe it wasn't less of a battle and more of an ambush, but
Yeah,
he gets rid of his rule. Then
he basically becomes strong enough that the Scythians are no longer a problem.
That's what I meant, yes.
So overall, that's pretty impressive as battle hardness.
It's amazing.
It's very good. I'm not sure, what are you aiming for? What's your point?
Well, since the only things I have to compare him to is our past two kings, I'm going to say this is a 9. And I'm taking just 1 point off from losing that first battle. For going to the battle at all.
That wasn't a great
He should have not. Yeah, he should have not. He clearly didn't have a cool head at the time. He was just very angry about his dad dying.
Yeah, probably just vengeance to the brain.
Yeah.
So 9.
You have the context of what comes next. So obviously,
it's still very impressive. I don't think I can give him 10 for the starting battle because that's a lot. But otherwise, I think I can give him less. He didn't really fail in any other field.
He did awesome.
I would. You know what? I'm going to give him an 8.
Okay.
Just because he doesn't really defeat Lydia. They just come to a standstill.
That's true.
Which, it's good.
But that's because they're matched in force, right? Yeah, they fight for 6 years and then they're like, okay, let's just call it a draw.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but I think to get higher, I would have to have him defeat that.
Okay.
Defeat them.
That would have been really intense.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes and just stomps Lydia at that point and just extends to Greece, that's impressive.
Because, like you said, there's these 4 essentially equal empires at the time, and if he had taken over one of the other 3,
then he becomes the new world power. Essentially, there's no one who can stand in his place.
But that's an alternate history.
Sure, of course. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with an 8, and you can stay with the 9.
I'm just very excited about his work.
No,
I'll keep the 9. We can always revise it. We can always revise it later.
Okay, so this gives us a total of 17 out of 20 for battle hardness.
Awesome.
Our highest score out of 3.
Surprise,
Good job,
surprise.
Cyaxares. The next category is scheminess. So how many plots did he engage in? How tricksy was he?
I cannot deal with the fact that after being openly very angry and, depending on who you ask, very disrespectful to the Scythians, he was like, yeah, totally come over for a feast. It's totally gonna be fine. And, like, they still went.
Yeah.
Because, like, I would call that schemy, but, like, that was very clear what his intentions were.
I mean, the invitation probably had some fine print somewhere,
Get your affairs in order before coming here, say goodbye to your wife,
Yeah, it was probably just enough that they were convinced, no, he's nice, Cyaxares would never.
But, like, I feel like that deserves points for scheminess.
Yeah, I feel like that deserves points. Besides that, what did he do?
Not that
It was mostly
much.
Yeah, it was mostly fighting.
It was
and
very
it was relatively
straightforward.
clean fighting. It wasn't any. I don't know if you want to give him any points for maybe pre-planning the Battle of the Eclipse.
Did he though? Did he
get
to talk to Talus and?
I don't know.
If we don't know, then we don't know.
Yeah, fine.
We'll assume. Nah.
So
he could have pre-planted. The Lydian king could have also pre-planted. Like we don't.
Okay, fine. So we can just not give it.
I'd give him. Is this out of 10 as well?
This is out of 10. Yeah, these are out of 10 for
like
him.
a 6.
6 out of 10. Okay.
Like pretty schemy. Also not like an incredibly diabolical plan. Like I guess because we have the benefit of history and like knowing what he's going to do. Probably it was better done if like all the important Scythian people went. It wasn't so clear, but to me it's a bit funny. That
yeah,
it's like,
sure,
well,
it's not.
If this happened and then the same man says, hey, bring all of your important people here, I will have a feast.
Yeah, it's not ideal. So you're going for 6. I'm going to go for maybe a bit less, mostly because it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Honestly, I might go down.
It isn't too flamboyant. Like there isn't a fun flourish.
That's what I mean. It's clever, but like.
Yeah, it's okay.
Very obvious.
Yeah, I think I'm aiming more for like a 4 or something.
No, I'll give him a 5.
5? Okay,
yes.
So 4 and 5. You're a big Cyaxares fan.
Still a really cool story. I really enjoyed it. It was really
it's a nice
fun.
stuff. So for scheminess, 9 out of 20 for Cyaxares. Which is actually just after Diakes. So Diakes with his whole plotting to become king.
His boulders in the house.
Boulders in the house were a nice touch.
I love that we just kind of made up some story for Diakes. Like, nothing to do with the man, but
Herodotus did the work for us, so that helps.
At least this one was probably true.
Yeah, it was likely. Next category is shock factor. So how scandalous is he overall?
Not that much.
Here the thing
I like the
I'd
Eclipse
say,
story, but I don't think that really counts as
it's
scandalous.
not especially scandalous.
Nothing happened.
I think for scandal, it's going to be the Scythians again, but it's more the fact that you are killing your guests.
Yes.
He is being disrespectful to the Scythians. That ends up in the murder of a young median boy.
Oh god, that is terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's not massive, but
he needs to get some points for that. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah. He managed to offend the Scythians enough that they went to murder.
Yeah, which they also shouldn't have done.
Sure, I mean,
but
not justifying that. But
he reacted badly, like the Scythians. You can have a bad hunting day. They didn't owe him anything. Actually, he owed them.
Yeah, technically he was the
his
subject
fault,
here.
really.
So.
Yeah.
So yeah. So shock factor. What's your plan?
It's say a 3. maybe
3. Yeah.
Just because, the breaking of disrespecting your host, but then like offering human flesh for dish, like the whole thing is very like, oh my god. Like even at the time, here's one of the things that we find we agree on. We would both find it very shocking, both in present day and back then.
Yes.
To do something like that.
It is frowned upon.
Maybe not so much the disrespecting your host. I mean, that would have been seen as impolite, but...
Still, murdering your dinner guests.
No. Yeah, obviously. I meant more his, his
insulting
reaction.
his guests,
yeah.
sure. So I'm going to go for about like a 2, honestly.
Okay.
So 2 and 3.
Keep me grounded. I'm just enthusiastic that we're having finally something
nice.
To write.
Hooray! So 2 and 3 gives him 5 points out of 20 for shock factor.
Sure.
Again, 1 point under Diokes.
We kind of made up Diokes, so...
Nice. Next category is Ehrenshine. How good was he for media, for his empire? What did he do?
Amazing.
He was pretty amazing.
He created one of the biggest empires at the time and made it respectable and made it stable and just was amazing.
Yeah,
it was great.
Not just
10 out of 10. Would recommend. Get yourself your own Cyaxares.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know if I'm going for a full 10, but. To list his achievements, he's managed to create this massive empire. And not just that, he's managed to secure it by giving marriage alliances to the bordering kingdoms for the foreseeable future, for the next generation at least. His empire is safe.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can touch him.
Exactly.
So that's really impressive.
It's so good. Say it. It's so good.
It is really good. My only thing for not going to a 10 is that he didn't make any large building projects or reforms or that. I mean, there isn't much to reform. There's nothing there.
He didn't build the hanging gardens, whatever.
He inspired the building of the hanging gardens through his granddaughter or daughter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
His son/grandson-in-law was cooler and fine.
With the benefit of foresight, I feel like it is all very, very impressive, but there's just this little something missing to make it perfect.
Well, with no benefit of foresight, and also just thinking that, we can give 10 out of 10 to more than one person.
Sure.
At the time that we are in history, we're there's no chance that he could have had, a giant empire encompassing half of the world. That just hasn't happened yet, ever. Sure. It's not an option. It's not a thing. I think for the time where he is, when he lived and the cards that he was dealt, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
I'm still going to go for the 9 because I require some architecture for my
He didn't care enough about culture.
Yes. Didn't build enough cool things.
Infrastructure.
But still, building an empire is still nice.
Yeah.
So out of total of 19 out of 20 for Ehrenshine.
Yes.
Top Ehrenshine person. Good man. Next category is Face of Faces. We get to see what he looks like.
Oh my goodness.
Hooray!
I haven't drawn him. Wait, I have no idea how I imagine him. He was an angry man, right?
Very angry, yes. He was angry enough to cause child murder.
Yes, short temper.
Yes.
There we go. I have it here.
Okay, so let me see what Serial drew. Nice. So we have an angry man with scary anime eyes, rubbing his hands together, saying, invite them to dinner, my treat. So I like this. It's very nice. Also, good beard.
You're
Strong,
welcome.
powerful beard. I enjoy this.
I went for a more straight cut this time.
Yeah, it's nice. Cut. So, I'll show you what might be the face of Cyaxares. And interestingly enough, we might have a contemporary portrait of him.
Oh, finally. Okay,
yes.
Wonderful.
We don't know if it's his. So the thing is that we have a tomb of some sort of royal figure from around the time Cyaxares died and within the confines of the Median Empire. But it's not in Media itself.
Okay.
So some people think it might just be a local king, but we don't care. We have a contemporary portrait, so we're going to use it. So I'm going to spin this around so you can see. So Cyaxares is the fellow to the right, and he is giving some sort of offering to a god.
Ooh.
And this is technically a funerary monument.
That's really cool. I mean, not that far off from what I drew, because, again, he has a beard and a kind of long-ish hair, which I guess is the style at the time.
Yeah, he has this sort of helmet-like crown that he's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
In front of him, he has this bow to show that he is a warrior king and he is a powerful martial man. And he has a interesting-ish robe.
I really like it. I love the fashion choices. I love that he has a bow. I love the robe that he has on top of his clothes or his armor. Like, he looks regal.
Yeah,
I like
quite
this.
a regal man.
I really like it, yeah.
We're going to get better portraits, but as a start, it's reasonably impressive, if it is him.
Well, kind of fits what I imagined. So, honestly, yeah. I say 8 out of 10, only because it doesn't have that much detail. Obviously, this is very old. No, but 9 out of 10, because it is contemporary.
It is contemporary.
Gives it extra points.
I'm going to go... I'm going to go 7 out of 10, partially for the detail thing, and also because we're not sure if it's him.
That's true.
There is no big text out front saying this is Cyaxares. It's just...
You're
right. It's within the time frame and space frame, but...
Yeah. Then maybe I go back to 8 out of 10. Because it's still really cool, and it matches kind of like what I expected, but again, maybe not the most reliable.
Okay, fair enough. That works. So, with a 7 and an 8, multiplying and adding and dividing with all our magical tools...
Excel to the rescue!
We get 3.8 points out of 5 for Face of Faces.
Wonderful.
Nice. Also, highest score.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Makes sense.
And finally, we have lengthiness. How many years did he reign? 40 years. Nice round number. And if we just divide that by 10, that gives him 4 points out of 5 for lengthiness, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So, altogether, this gives us a total score of 57.8 out of 100 for Cyaxares, making him, by a long margin, the best king we've had so far.
As I would expect.
The second one is Diocles with 32.8, so Cyaxares has like 25 points on him. That's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Our other two options were Diocles, which most of it was legend, and that makes it for a good story, and so we could just put things in there if we wanted to. And Phraortes, who did this really awesome thing of going against the Assyrians and then it immediately died.
Yeah, so Cyaxares is miles ahead.
Yes.
He's a lot more impressive. But how impressive is he? Is he impressive enough to be declared a Shahanshah? Or is he rather just a Shahanah?
I think...
Yes.
We might have our first Shahanshah of the podcast.
Do you?
Because I'm sure there's going to be more interesting people in the Empire. But isn't this awesome?
This is really awesome. Yes.
Isn't this incredible? I am totally going to tell people about the fact that he had this eclipse battle and they decided to keep it in a drawer because the eclipse happened. That is so freaking cool.
That's really
That's
cool.
going to stick with me. So I am definitely, yes.
Right, yeah. Before the episode, I was half and half because my idea is that, yes, it is cool that there's all this stuff. The Battle of the Eclipse is really awesome and everything. Yeah. But my downside is that I don't feel like I know him personally.
Well, and the Scythians and the whole thing with the banquet and obviously the relevant things making media into an empire and one of the main powers of the world in that area and all of that.
Yeah, so the fact is that I don't feel like I know him personally, but still all of this is just impressive enough that I'm willing to go with your judgment.
Yes!
We can have our first Shahanshah Cyaxares. So congratulations, Cyaxares. You can wait for everyone else in your wonderful palace in paradise, and we'll come back to you at the end when we get to choose who the best King of Kings was. So congratulations, we finally made it, episode 3.
You're safe from the Simorgs.
Yes.
Good job.
You're safe from being torn apart by Simorgs. You can just wave goodbye to Diocles and Phraortes while you go to your nice palace.
Whoever they are, just
whoever,
these concepts of...
These potential people, we don't know.
I really liked this episode. This was really, really fun. I really like this guy. Again, obviously, we do not have the most reliable sources, or because it was so long ago. It was at the half point of history.
Exactly.
But this was so epic. I feel like I would tell people about it. And I feel like, much like the host of the Tados Rankium decided to judge if someone should get the title or not by, would you tell somebody else about this person? I feel like that is a good method.
Yeah, that's a good metric to know, okay, is this person worth it? And yeah, I think Cyaxares is fair enough. We can add him to our pantheon, and we'll come back to him later.
Amazing.
We'll judge our next Shahanshahs on him, essentially.
We're gonna come back, for sure. We're gonna come back and redo, like, these rankings.
Nah, that's fine. I'm sure this is gonna be good enough. We'll see. Okay, so that is the end of episode 3, Cyaxares.
We did it!
What's going to happen to his empire now that he's gone? Is it going to flourish? Is it going to fail?
Oh.
Who knows?
Yeah, I was kind of expecting it to go even better because we are talking about the Persian Empire, but like maybe we take a bit to get there, so I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to find out what Astyages, his son, and son-in-law of the King of Lydia now.
Exactly.
You know, what's he going to do? Is he going to be impressive? Is he going to live up to his father? Is he going to surpass him somehow? We'll have to find out in the next episode.
Will he lose half of the empire? Hopefully not.
Potentially. Will he lose it all? We don't know. Okay. You'll get to find out next week in Astyages episode 4. So, yeah, thank you for joining us for this episode with our first Shahanshah. Finally, tell your friends. We have one.
We did it. No longer false advertising.
Yes, finally.
Also, thank you so much for making it to the end of the episode. If you're still listening, we are very grateful. We hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was a good time. I guess tell your friends or leave us a review wherever you're listening to this. We're very happy to hear from you. Or just send us an email if you want to. Our details will be written somewhere in the description of this episode.
Yeah, we're going to have all of the information on our socials, emails, website, all of that nice stuff. You can look it up and get more information or talk to us. We enjoy fans.
Yeah, indeed. And I guess until next week, take care.
Until next week, have a good one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
The longest pause. You should just leave it. Don't edit it. Just leave it like it is.